Our job in terms of creating jobs is to work with community leaders whenever they request help. I've been able to help businesses in Mercer. There's going to be a major revitalization project down in Mercer this year, and I'm proud to have been a part of getting the knowledge to do that. Helped Action Floors when they came in with an issue. Helped the forestry industry and the loggers. And if somebody comes in, I'll do everything I can to facilitate additional dollars to that, the community and the business to help it establish here. Just recently, the Kestrel aircraft announced it was coming to Superior. Representative Milroy and my office worked very closely with the Department of Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, the governor's office. There was no politics. We did everything we could to help them. There's another business looking at Superior. We're doing the same thing to be helpful to them. That happens on a regular basis, but we can't just magically make this happen. I'm sorry the company chose to leave.
Yeah.
They did not leave, and you can say whatever you want, but I am disappointed they chose to leave. And they didn't have to at 8 o'clock at night. I wish they were as committed to staying here and letting us work through this very difficult process as the faith that you and Iron County put in that company. They made their decision. Now we have to do what we can to get the law passed, and that's where my attention and effort will be. And so I appreciate you being here, Janet, and then...
Bob, will you write a letter to the governor asking for a special session to let you fight whatever you want to fight, telling the governor that you're willing to vote yes by doing whatever it is that you do as a state representative and saying we need a special session for 2 days and we'll fight this out and we'll iron this out before April 15th. To do that, telling him that you will vote yes and asking him and everybody else to say yes to this because you're so close. It's so necessary and so important. There isn't any part, if you don't understand, of the no vote that you made. You need to be part of the solution and not the problem. Don't try to go get the packing under the bus, and don't try to throw Governor Walker.
I tried to make it clear, Mark.
I appreciate what you said about the tax. Your fight for the Minnesota tax is a fight for the people of Iron County, and that should have been said. I wish the governor would give in on that, or Fitzgerald would give in on that, because that would be the best thing for northern Wisconsin. As we leave here, will you do that? Yes or no?
The governor is not interested in calling a special session unless there is an agreement to getting a bill passed. But the governor, what we have agreed on is that it is best to work with some outside sources that aren't so enjoined on the politics of this issue, like Tim Sullivan and George Meyer. Both of them, you have asked the question of what we're doing to get an agreement. Tim Sullivan, former chair, executive officer, CEO of Bucyrus, which makes mining equipment, just recently sold to Caterpillar. Mr. Sullivan and I basically do not have much of a disagreement on the issues. We may have a disagreement on the bill. He may disagree with the bill, not our bill. He recognizes the difficulty of bringing the sides together. And what I'm hoping happens is that the Mining Association takes a lead position working with George Meyer and others who aren't entangled in the issue, Marty, and who are willing to come up with a proposal that is a consensus document. Now, whether people in the Assembly would migrate to that proposal or not, I don't know. And I don't know what that proposal would look like. But I think it would be a combination of the issues that I raised in the earlier document. And that's the best we can do at this time, Marty. Contested case clearly can't occur within the time limits. So what are the issues that have to be resolved? Taxation, which I think can be resolved. Time limits can be resolved. You need to provide some flexibility but we can figure out the right combination of days to make something work. The third issue is the closure date. I mentioned earlier that you can come up with the right agreement. The controversial issue will be the whole question of contested case. And if it is an issue where the citizens of Wisconsin are going to have a different restriction on them for mining than anything else, then we will have not served the people well. And so it seems to me, if you get down to one item, leaving those environmental issues aside because the company never asked for it, you get down to that one item, I think you could end up with a proposal. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, Janet?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for being here. I arrived late because I was doing one of the things that representative gets to do, which is eat at a dairy breakfast. I was over in Ashland and had breakfast with the 4-H kids. And that is what is a part of my job that is as important as what I'm doing here, to come here and listen to you and to thank you for what you're doing. Now, it's a Saturday. It's almost noon. And you're sitting here and you're keeping eye contact with politicians. So what does that say about you? It says that you care. It says that you're going to show up and you're going to fight. That's what he's doing. He shows up and he fights. Didn't win this battle. He didn't win this battle. We all lost.
We got stabbed in the back.
There was no backstabbing. There was. Okay. Well, you know, this is what democracy looks like, and you're walking out on a democratic process. I listened to you. And I never walked anywhere. I walked into this room, and I will walk into this room again and again and again. I started my remarks by telling you how proud I am to represent you. And I still am, but you still have disdain, and that's so sad. I hope to earn back the respect. I don't know what more I can do. All I can tell you is I'm going to continue to do it again and again and again until we get this solved. And now, the people that are left, let's get this done. Let's put our energy where it needs to go, because we are not quitting. And I know that that's hard to say. Rome wasn't built in a day. Mining legislation doesn't get written in a year. This is sausage making at its finest. And you're right in there in the skins with us all. And I'm not leaving. And I know you're not either. And I can honestly say that I'm proud that you've stayed. Because this is what democracy looks like. This is what we do to get good laws in place that are going to allow mining to happen in Iron County again. And just because it didn't happen the first time doesn't mean I'm ready to quit, or Bob's ready to quit, or anyone else in this room is ready to quit. We're going to keep going. And we're going to keep having these meetings because it doesn't happen overnight. The level of frustration that you feel is equal to the level of frustration that we feel. But we're going to continue to do this. We're not quitting. We're not quitting on you. We're not quitting on this issue. We're not stopping the fight. We're going to continue to represent you whether you want us or not. And you get to use democratic processes to determine who's going to represent you next. But in the meantime, it's us. And we're not done. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out today. We've been here for a long time, and obviously we had a very divisive session, not only dealing with the mining issue, but many other issues. And the fact of the matter is we're here today without a mining bill, but there are people who are committed to getting this done, and Senator Jauch is one of those people, and we're going to continue to work to try to reach a compromise that's in the best interest of the state of Wisconsin, because changing mining legislation does not just affect northwestern Wisconsin, it affects all of Wisconsin. And the real troubling thing about the Assembly bill and the joint finance bill was the taxation issue. That would have left our local communities holding the bag for all of the costs associated with the tremendous amount of burdens on infrastructure in these communities. And that's something a lot of local leaders here have recognized. So at a minimum, that's one thing that we need to compromise on. As far as the contested case hearings go, contested case hearings are very important not only for the citizens' rights, but also for the rights of developers. It's a process where an individual or a corporation can contest the findings of the Department of Natural Resources. The legislature creates the laws, and the department is supposed to enact those laws. Sometimes they might overstep their bounds, sometimes they might understep their bounds. And we have a process in Wisconsin where the public and corporations have a right to challenge the DNR's findings on these permits. And I think it's a very appropriate process. I think there's ways that we can make sure that it doesn't go on forever. And that is exactly the type of compromise that we're looking for.
Can I just ask you a question along those lines?
Would
you be in favor of the contested case after the permit, when instead of during the time permit, during the timing, during the actual process of the permit? This is what is holding up this entire deal. It's because, as I had said before, just wondering about an environmental issue can be brought into that, and this thing goes on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and that's why Exxon, after how many years and how many millions of dollars left the state,
right,
and we do not have any permit. Would you do that? Would you put it to the after the process when everybody could sue at that time? What would you think of that?
Well, what I want to tell you, and I know we want to wrap it up, and I'll let Senator Jauch have the final words, because we've all been here for 2 hours, but I do want to let people know that we are not drawing any lines in the sand on these issues. We want to make sure that if we pass something it's in the best interest of the state of Wisconsin and local communities. So we're not going to draw a line in the sand and say that contested case has to stay the way it is in current law. We can reform it. We're not going to draw a line in the sand and say, you know, there doesn't have to be any changes to our environmental standards in order for mine to operate. We're not going to draw a line in the sand saying there's not compromise on the taxation issue. Those are all things that we're working to try to find compromise on. And because of the political reality that we're in, Senator Jauch and Governor Walker have both, I believe, agreed to form a task force outside of the political arena of people that are experts in these fields to come up with something so that we have a blueprint to move forward, because we are very close on these issues. And once again, I thank you all for coming out.
Yeah, again, thank you all for being here. I would not say that he's agreed to form a task force. What we agreed is that it might be best to rely on people who are outside, who look at the issue independently and objectively. Try to separate yourself from the emotional side of things and come up with a bill that can get a consensus. It makes no sense for a governor to call a special session if there aren't the votes in both houses for that consensus. And we're just not trying to achieve a consensus with the Democrats and Republicans. We're really trying to achieve a consensus that serves the people of Wisconsin well. The Wisconsin tradition of open government and on environmental policy has always been based upon taking the time to create consensus. That's how our mining law was written 35 years ago, in which business and environmental groups got together and they worked through the various different points of view to come up with a process that works. I would like to say, sir, that in terms of Crandon, there are a lot of people that don't blame the regulatory process for Crandon's failure. There are lots of mistakes made, not by the regulators so much as by the companies who are applying. It was also a very sensitive area in which there could have been great environmental harm to the Wolf River and the folks downstream. And so that was not a problem cause of the regulatory system. We are all in agreement of the need to come up with a ferrous mining law, because ferrous iron ore mining is clearly a much cleaner process, cleaner technology. We have not been arguing whether or not ferrous mining is safe or not safe. I get criticized for not opposing ferrous mining by some individuals. The fact is that what we're trying to do is come up with a law that works for anywhere in the state of Wisconsin. And we've identified areas of potential agreement, and I'm hopeful that the right people can come out with a consensus, and I will be, if it's a consensus that makes sense to George Meyer, head of the Wildlife Federation, and to the head of the Mining Association and other groups that work on it, a balanced viewpoint, then I'm going to migrate to that position and separate it from this partisan debate that has frustrated people. Thank you all for coming. If you want additional information, we will continue to try to provide it, and we appreciate your attendance this morning.